Hey Waffle Gang, I do hope you're well. My name is Mark and today we're checking out some more Reddit stories, and if you do love a Reddit story, why not consider hitting that like, subscribe, maybe that notification bell too, and let's crack on with today's first story. Much love guys. Now today's first story comes from the True Off My Chest subreddit from a deleted user who says, I listened to my brother and I shouldn't have. I met my ex-wife Kelly when we were in college, when she asked me for some notes one day. We'd been sitting next to each other for weeks without a word until then. We started dating and got serious pretty quickly, which upset my younger brother Robert. Robert was about 16 when I started dating Kelly, and you could tell that he had a bad crush. She was always nice and took it in stride. After Robert left home and got into college, I let him move in with us. Kelly and I had been together about 3 years, living together for 2. We all had a good relationship. Kelly started complaining things were misplaced soon. One of her earrings would disappear, her panties, sometimes it was socks. She was under a ton of stress, changing medication, so we both chalked it up to her ADHD, giving her an issue until one day I caught my brother with a pair of her missing panties. We found everything he stole. We kicked him out and he goes to live with my parents again and begs for forgiveness and decides to go to therapy. It takes about 5 years, but we all decide it was water under the bridge, Kelly included. Robert had a hard life growing up. He said it was all acting out. Late 2022, I received an anonymous email that Kelly was cheating on me. He knew dates she was out of town, names of co-workers, and everything. They gave me no photographs, but knew enough details that I was sure they were telling the truth. Kelly fought me on it, denied it, begged for marriage counseling, but cheating is a solid deal breaker for me. Robert came to stay with me as my emotional support while Kelly was there. Kelly had asked me to get him to leave multiple times, stating that he was watching her and making her feel uncomfortable. But all I said were things I'd rather not repeat about her not being trustworthy. The day she left last April, she said to me it was going to turn out to be my pervert brother, and that if it is, she hopes I feel every ounce of pain I just put her through. My brother has apparently been racked with guilt and confessed last weekend. He told me in front of our parents. I couldn't say anything. I just walked out and went home. I turned my personal phone off and I've just been walking in a daze. I go to work, come home, I watch TV, and I go to bed. I can't tell you what I've eaten for the past week, what I've watched. My dad came to talk to me tonight and he wants me to talk to my brother. Tell him that it's going to be okay and we can work through it. I turned on my personal phone for the first time to see hundreds of texts from my brother. I just want to reach out to Kelly and beg for forgiveness and ask her if we can start over. I don't understand why your family's expecting you to forgive your brother like that when he's already previously shown what he's been up to and then made a plan to ruin your relationship, your marriage, which you bought into, which is another thing I don't understand, how you could have immediately believed this email from an anonymous person. Sure, it may raise some questions, but to immediately believe it and go along with it, I just find a bit bizarre. And from Kelly's point of view, I don't think there's any coming back from that. You didn't trust her, and I think what she said to you was pretty damning, and that you feel every ounce of pain that you put her through. I don't think there's any coming back from that. The only thing I would maybe consider, and I don't even know if that's a good idea, is letting her know that she was right and you found out the truth, but you're not expecting anything to come from that. But it may just give her some kind of closure to everything that's gone on. But in the comments, Confused Dragonfly says, well, you'd best go powder your poor brother's ass. Make him feel better, and it's going to be okay, and keep feeling sad and in a daze. You'd already caught him with her panties and other stolen items. Why wouldn't you believe her the second time is beyond me. Leave Kelly alone. She doesn't need anyone's lame apologies. It took you 30 minutes to throw away what you had and a year for your brother to admit what he did. Ocean says, your parents raised a predator. Literally, they said it's okay to be a predator. Mummy and daddy still loves you even if you violate and stalk women and destroy their lives. And leave Kelly the fuck alone. Your piece of shit brother has done enough. If you ever loved her, never put her anywhere near your family again, and that includes you. And that's a good point. When that comment said stalker there, that he knew about all her work colleagues, locations, etc., etc. That is damn scary. But Marv115 says, you did what? Forgive your brother. He has cost you your marriage. At minimum, you have to cut him out of your life, and seeing your parents' reactions to them too. I would have sent your brother to the hospital if that happened to me. You trusted an anonymous email before your wife. She even deduced what happened. You don't deserve her. And one more comment from Murd who says, there's a fulfilling life still waiting for you past all of this, I hope you know. I agree with everyone else. Tell Kelly she was right and you were wrong, and don't trouble her anymore with groveling, begging, lamenting, etc. If I were you, I don't think forgiving the brother would even be up for discussion until some years have passed, with some effective therapy included in that time. I'd also need to see serious growth from bro as well. It seems like your family is undervaluing just how emotionally destructive and immoral your brother's actions were. So consider cutting them out of your inner circle, if not out of your life completely for a bit. You funked up for sure by capitulating it all through distrusting your partner, but I think most people can sympathize with how nerve-wracking it would be to receive that kind of detailed, personally intimate cheating allegation that you did. That kind of excitement is raw and terrible, and if anything were to knock you off balance in terms of rationale and level-headedness, it's spousal infidelity. The real villain here is your brother, and to a lesser degree your enabling, conflict-avoidant doormat-type parents. Bro can be only child for a little while he clearly doesn't deserve you in his life just yet. The OP came in with an update and says, I vented on Reddit about finding out that my brother faked that my wife had an affair on a business trip. I've been in a daze since I found out. I kept reading that everyone said leave Kelly alone, but I sent her an email to where we had been communicating about little things that popped up, and then I went to bed. I apologized, told her that I know I can't mend things, but that she was right and that Robert was out of my life, and probably my parents too. I didn't expect an email back, but I received one and it was massive. It was filled with a lot of personal things that I don't want to repeat. She said she understood the desire to listen to that email, but that she wasn't even able to defend herself. That I just gave her time to get out and then immediately moved Robert into our home, where she watched him intentionally keep us from communicating as she was forced to leave. She said she would have done anything, let me talk to her co-workers, check her geo-tracking, but Robert kept a permanent buffer and I allowed it, belittling and mocking her along with him whenever she attempted to talk to me. She thanked me for the closure on this chapter of her life and she wished me the best, but she asked me not to contact her again, ever. After the year and 3 months she said she endured, she isn't the same woman I knew. She asked me to set the record straight with any former mutual acquaintances, but she honestly never wants to hear from any of them either, and to tell them so. She told me I poisoned that well when I accused her of what I did, and it was the most bitter and isolating experience she's ever dealt with, and that she genuinely feels nothing for anyone in her former life, including me. She also told me cutting Robert out is a great idea, but don't cut them off trying to get her back or even in her good graces because she is moving overseas on a fiancé visa to try things out with her new fiancé. She said they've only been dating 8 months, but she's never felt this way about anyone in her life and that she thinks he might be her soulmate. She told me to learn from my mistakes with her and to find someone to love more than I loved her. It crushed me to see the word soulmate. She used to tell me that all the time. She thought I was her soulmate. I called my dad yesterday morning after reading the email, and I told him I'm not going to comfort Robert. He ended my marriage through lies, made me a liar to all of my friends, and isolated and hurt one of the most loving, loyal people on the planet who tried so many times to help him. My relationship with Robert is over, and I told him that if he has a problem with that, my relationship with him is over too. My dad told me he understood truly how bad it was once I broke it down that way. I'm going to put in a transfer request at my work tomorrow. I live on the West Coast. Maybe I head to the East Coast. I'm going to get a change in scenery, a therapist, and figure myself out. And a couple of comments, the top comments from that post. Zesty Close says, I'm glad she found her soulmate. I hope she can heal from the pain you put her through. Much Recording says the saddest part is that you would have still thought she had cheated had your psycho brother not confessed. You never believed her word or gave her a chance to defend herself. You dragged her name through the mud and she was living in isolation while her community believed her to be a trash person. You are happy in burning down her world, and this is part of your guilt. It's not a responsibility to help you massage your guilt and conscience. She was kind enough to give you closure, even though you didn't deserve any of it. Your life will probably suck for a while, and karma coming back to receive its due is always a possibility. For now, try to work on what led to this. If you find yourself in a future relationship, tread with caution and work on communication and genuine trust. I'm glad your ex is happy. She deserves to be loved, cherished, and given her place as a partner. That includes safety and security, which you failed to provide. Good luck, OP. Invisible Arachnid says, I'm sorry, OP, but Robert didn't end your marriage. You did. Robert was not even part of the marriage. Who made the vow? Who promised each other for better or worse? Everything that happened in your life was because of your choices. You should take accountability for the choices you made. At least you know what to do in your next relationship. Next time, do it right. Rainbow Bell says, yeah, like seriously, who believes that shit without proof? Robert had no proof, just his words, and OP ate it up. Didn't let his ex-wife defend herself. He definitely dealt the blow that killed his marriage. And a lot of the comments were, just bash in on OP, which I absolutely get. He absolutely destroyed things, and when he brought the brother back into the house, all this sort of stuff, really scary stuff. Didn't allow her to defend herself. And so I'm glad that she moved on and she's living, her best life right now. Because you can see the pain in the words that in the reply to OP about how she's not the same person anymore. I find that just sad in those words, but at the same time, she's doing good for herself now, which isn't a bad thing, right? And I hope OP does move away, gets that transfer, gets the therapy that they're going to need going forward, because the alternative is that gets in another relationship and something the same happens again. So in that way, I'm glad he's making positive changes to his own life as well. But what do you guys make of this situation? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. And let's move on to another story. And our next story comes from the Am I the Arsehole subreddit. It does have an update from a throwaway account and says, Am I the arsehole for bailing on anniversary plans with my boyfriend last minute for a friend's emergency? My boyfriend, 21 male, and I, 20 female, had fancy dinner plans and tickets to the movies to celebrate our 1-year anniversary. We were both super excited about it and had planned it a while ago. However, about an hour before our reservation, I got a message from my close friend. He texted me saying he was having a family emergency and he really needed some support / someone to talk to right now, and asked me to come over. I've been friends with this person for years and I've always been there to support him and cheer him up as he has some family / home issues. So I called my boyfriend who was driving back from work to tell him we'd have to cancel because I had to go be there for a friend, and he got mad even though I told him it's out of my hands. I then hung up because I didn't want him to carry on driving and being on call, especially if he's angry, and said I'll speak to him later. Cut to me coming home a few hours later and he was pissed. We got into an argument and he said that I prioritized another guy over him and that my friend is a grown man who could have waited until the next morning to have me come over. He also got more mad when I couldn't tell him what the emergency was that ruined what was meant to be a special day, even though that's my friend's personal information and is not my business to share. I felt that was very insensitive of him to not understand why I had to go and be there for a good friend of mine. And yeah, we lost a bit of money for tickets, but we can just reschedule. But I can see why he's frustrated, as it's our first anniversary and he planned it a while ago. Plus I got angry at him for being insensitive, which only heated the argument and made it worse. It's been a few days since the fight and he's still being frosty to me, waiting for me to apologize, and now I'm thinking about it, I'm not sure if I handled it right. Am I the arsehole? Now, I'm always someone for supporting friends and giving support when needed, but I can understand where the boyfriend is coming from in this situation, absolutely. You just showed him where your priorities actually lie. And some of your wording in the post is just bizarre as well, that you said it's out of your hands when it was totally in your hands. You hung up on him. And I just can't help but feel how the boyfriend must have been feeling in that situation. All excited, been making plans for your 1st year anniversary. and then you've dropped everything to go see this other guy who needed support, etc., and then coming back and then there's no information about what it was about, etc., which I totally understand, keeping private information, etc., but at the same time, you've got to understand where he's coming from and how this all looks, right? Which Irene says, can you see how this must look to your boyfriend? You ditched him on your 1-year anniversary to go to the emotional rescue of another man. That doesn't look good. I'm sure it felt awful. Then you accuse him of not being sensitive and understanding when you're doing the same thing to him. You're the arsehole. OK Pumpkin says nothing would please me more than an update that said her boyfriend dumped her for being the self-absorbed, arrogant arsehole that she is. Your savior complex doesn't make you a saint. You don't have proper boundaries and you don't give two shits about your boyfriend. Fragrant Economist says you're the arsehole. It absolutely was not out of your hands. You chose to go talk to that other guy. Any other time than on your anniversary. Are you sure there is nothing more going on with that other guy? Wouldn't blame your boyfriend for thinking there was. You could always have said that you would come and comfort your old friend the next day, but that you unfortunately had other plans for the evening. But I guess you have your priorities in order. Little Feet says, look, I understand the need to be there for a friend, but how can you be so blind to not understand how this looks? You did prioritize another guy over him. Don't pretend otherwise. Does your friend not have others to confide in? It was in your hands and you were the one who cancelled your anniversary for your friend. You could have gone over later or the next day. You're the arsehole, plain and simple. Edit, the emergency was that he had an argument with his dad. For fuck's sake, this is pathetic. He's a known alcoholic and you're enabling his behavior. You are no friend and your boyfriend deserves better. So clearly there was some information, so I went on the hunt for it, and OP said to someone, they said, no, my friend had a big argument with his dad, and without going into lots of details, my friend struggles with alcohol problems. I went over to help smooth things over and give him someone to talk to and distract him as he was very upset. When my friend asks for emergency support, I don't ask questions, I go. How could I have enjoyed my night knowing he was struggling anyway? So OP comes in to update the post and says, after reading everyone's comments, I realized I was in the wrong and I didn't prioritize correctly. I came off pretty defensive at first, but after thinking about what people said, I shouldn't have been. I apologized to my boyfriend and told him nothing like this would ever happen again. He's still pretty mad, but after a serious conversation about setting boundaries between me and this friend, he's willing to move past it. He did say if it happens again or I cross boundaries with this friend, then he's gone, so it obviously did affect him more than I thought. I'm willing to respect this and try to consider my boyfriend's feelings more while still being there for my friend. We've rebooked our tickets and dinner for next weekend, and hopefully it can still be special. What I will say is the emergency message I got from my friend at the time didn't have much detail, so I didn't know how serious it was. Obviously when I got to his place, he was very upset, but it wasn't life and death, and in hindsight it could have waited until the next morning. I'm not trying to make any excuses. I just thought some comments were a little harsh. I care for my boyfriend very much, and I'm happy we've got this resolved. The comments about my friend's alcoholism made me realize that I needed to give him the resources to help himself, which I will do if he's open to it. I've never had someone I care about deal with alcohol issues and was a bit naive to think I could help him without professionals. I spoke to my friend on the phone this morning, and even though he was very defensive, he agreed to meet with me to talk about the next step for him in getting help. His dad is threatening to kick him out of the house, so I think it was a bit of a wake-up call for him. Also, I don't believe my friend had any malicious intent when he asked for my help, and I won't be cutting him off like some of you suggested. I think healthy boundaries to prevent any misunderstandings will do. That's the update for some of you who are asking for one. And I think it's fair to say that a lot of the comments, the top comments on this update, were saying that this relationship has an expiration date with the way it's looking at this moment in time. But what do you guys make of this situation? Maybe you have a different take on the matter. Maybe you think OP was justified in going to help out their friend and support them when needed. Maybe not. Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. And just a huge thank you from the bottom of my heart for getting involved in today's stories. Your love, your support, your time always means the absolute world to me. So thank you so much for being involved, and hopefully I'll see you in the next one. Take care. and much love.